This little makeup. Hello, everybody. What's up? I'm going to go start the other recording. And we're live. Welcome to Liv's Library, where we talk about things and we learn about things and we do all the stuff and things. I'm going to start saying that at the beginning of all of my podcasts because I kind of like that. Okay, so everybody, hello. This looks terrible. I just want to take my hair down so at least I look more girlish. My heavens. I have my hair in a bun and I have lipstick on and that's it. So I'm going to take my...
plenty girlish, but do your thing.
That looks much better. Okay, well, looks semi-better. I still have no eyeballs, but that's okay. Oh my gosh. And this is my podcast. Welcome. This week we're going to welcome one of my closest friends, someone I consider a brother and just someone that I look up to, and I really do. I admire you and I respect you, and I'm so grateful for you in my life. Everybody, this is Bryon.
Hi, everybody.
Yay!
I like the self-made applause.
Thank you.
That was good.
I'm weird. Y'all know it. Calm down. Okay. Okay, so in order to get started, there's actually a few things that we do. This is like so, gosh. I'm just adjusting things as we go along, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay, we're going to actually take this seriously now. Okay, so the way that I start every podcast is I ask some very, very riveting questions that everyone on the internet is dying to know. Okay. And there are also things that I very much enjoy learning about you. So, you ready?
I suppose so.
Okay, first question. What is your favorite quote?
Crazy thing is a few weeks ago I could have told you that one. If you give me a second, I can find out. Here,
you get 30 seconds. You get 30 seconds. I'm timing
I'll find
you.
it in 30 seconds. Guarantee you I'll find it in 30 seconds.
I'm going to push out my hair when we're done here. This looks terrible.
How do I get to the rest of my bio?
There
we go.
He's going on to Facebook, y'all.
Because it's in here. And I know it is.
Oh, you're going to where it actually asks you for your favorite
quote.
I've read this before because I totally have stalked you on Facebook and feel like I know a lot about you because of that.
It's super long.
That's okay. Go for it.
You want the whole thing?
Go for it. Or pick out your favorite part. Whichever you prefer.
I'll just give you the whole thing then. It's a poem by Tecumseh.
Awesome.
And it's, so live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their views, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger, when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song like a hero going home.
I love that. I love that. Why is that your favorite quote?
We're all going to die one day. And my theory is you should treat people how you would want to be treated. It's the golden rule. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And when we die, we don't want to, I don't want to go groveling and crying and going, why didn't I live my life better? And so it kind of reminds me to live every day as if it's my last day.
I love that. I love that. And that's so important in every aspect of life, but especially, you know, when you're living a life of service to other people. I think putting yourself in a position where you are serving other people so fully, I mean, that's very important to remember that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The purpose behind it. The purpose behind it. Okay, so this one's a little easier because of the first word. Ready? The question is, what is your current favorite song?
This Cowboy's Hat by Chris Ledoux.
That is a good song.
That is an amazing song.
Okay, why is it your favorite?
Well, you don't touch a cowboy's hat. I mean, it's that simple. You're a special case, though.
Yay!
You already knew that.
I did. That's why I went
you wear it.
I know. I was tempted to take it and be like, "Might make me look a little better."
Yeah, but then it would show my bald spots. Yep, those ones.
So. Here, I'll give it back to you. There you go.
I love how I ran my hand through my hair, even though I have like none.
Okay, what is a unique fact about yourself? Something I don't know.
Something you don't know?
Yeah.
See, and that's where the problem comes in with the leader of the military.
Yeah, exactly. While you're thinking, I'll explain your comment. Bryon and I this evening are also going to be doing a challenge that will show up later on my other channel, Lives Life. So if you decide that you like Bryon and I and having our banter going back and forth, then definitely join us later for that challenge because it's going to be a good one.
A unique?
Yep.
Is that what it was? Unique?
A unique fact about yourself that I do not know.
I'd rather ride a horse than drive a car any day of the week. Do you know that already?
Really?
Yep.
Even your beautiful Mustang outside.
Even my beautiful Mustang.
Wow.
And I love the Mustang. But...
It's a pretty darn good car. Yeah, it's definitely a hot vehicle. Okay, this one is my favorite because it incorporates everyone watching at home in the video audience. You have to get closer to the screen for this one. So it's a good one forward. Gotta take your hat off for this one. It's like, not your chair, just your body.
Just my body.
Your chair is gonna have to go back where it was.
That's fine, it'll go back.
Okay.
That's off.
Yes. Win. Okay, so you're gonna be looking at the camera. Ready? And then when I say it, you do it immediately. No thoughts.
Okay.
Make your favorite funny face. That's genuinely like my favorite part of these questions.
Oh, I'm sure.
My second part to this is everyone in the audio listening and not being able to see what's going on. They just missed that can't talk.
Amusing.
The amusing funny face.
So switch over and watch the video.
No, you can listen to the audio too because then I get ratings on iTunes and SoundCloud.
There you go. So do both.
Download. And then, and then come to YouTube.
There you go.
You can watch it again. Okay, but here's what you got to do. This is for the audio audience. You are going to make your favorite animal noise.
Okay. Roar! That's the best I got.
What's that supposed to be?
Well, there's so many animals that roar.
Right, so that's why you have to identify it.
It would be a lion.
All right. Okay, my mane, your sound. We
could equal a male lion. Yes!
Woo! Okay, if you want, you can put your hand up. But you can keep it off too, I don't mind.
Which would you prefer? I don't like my bald spots showing though.
You can put your hand back. I'll be nice to you. Okay, what is your favorite cheese?
Purple.
What's your favorite cereal?
Almost said Fruit Loops, but Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Okay, so here's the last question that I asked, and this takes us into our topic a little bit. Don't worry about the transition. Don't worry about how it takes us into the topic.
Okay.
Have you read any good books recently?
No.
Okay, what was the last book that you read?
1 Second After.
That's a book title?
It is. It's actually about if a nuke detonated above the United States, it would cause an EMP effect across the whole country. And it's the reaction after that, and how like vehicles that run on spark plugs wouldn't run. So your carburetors would still run. And trying to survive in a world where all electricity's gone. It's actually a really good read.
That's interesting. That's
in fact,
really
a few members of Congress actually recommend it.
Really?
Because it's a very real possibility if we get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's way cool. What made you decide to read that book?
I'm going to sound like a nutter.
Okay, go for it.
I guarantee you we're going to get attacked at some point. And an EMP strike would not surprise me one bit because it would knock out.
Think about how helpless we would be without internet, without electricity.
Think about the military.
Oh.
And all of the things we have in the military that run on electricity. All of law enforcement.
Yeah.
You got a lot of stuff that runs on electricity.
Yeah.
So, very real possibility.
Wow. That's crazy. We'd be taken back at least to the 1800s.
Yeah. Candles, all that fun stuff. I'd get to ride a horse everywhere, though. It's a bonus.
You don't have a taser, so you only get to use your gun.
It's okay. Pepper spray isn't electric.
All right, touche.
Okay, so to clarify for you guys, I work in law enforcement. So that's where I don't have my taser, only my gun, and a lot of the law enforcement references that are subtle are coming in.
I wasn't sure if you wanted to say that, so that's why
I'm
I didn't.
Okay with it.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what department or anything like that. But
that's fine. That is totally fine. Respect. That is just... That's another reason why I just admire and respect you so much. So kind of going into it then, you mentioned that, I mean, you read this book. It kind of made you think of like how you would take on the world a little bit differently.
right.
So here's a question for you then. The topic of this particular conversation is tattoos. We're going to talk about tattoos, and we're going to talk about just kind of whatever comes from that conversation.
Right.
But right now, in the world that we live in currently, what would you say a person with one tattoo that's visible, how would you say that they're perceived?
Nowadays, I think it's a lot more accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of the millennial generation, I think a lot of us look at it and go, that's a cool tattoo. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
What's it mean? We kind of understand and accept it a little bit better now.
Yeah. Okay, take 10 years ago. We were both alive 10 years ago.
We were.
Do you think it was as accepted 10 years ago?
Oh, no.
10 years
Even
ago.
15 years ago.
Well,
definitely not.
Like, that's why I kind of take it back 10 years, because it started to become something that was acceptable,
Right.
but something that was still majorly taboo. Tattoos maybe were becoming a little more acceptable, especially on a guy, especially if he had maybe something up her sleeve that could be covered up.
Right.
But if a girl had a tattoo, if a woman had a tattoo, all hell broke loose on this woman. And she was thought very poorly of. She was considered trashy, hardcore. She was probably a whore. You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how it was perceived. What in a post-apocalyptic world where zombies take over, EMP strike happens.
Uh-huh.
Do you think tattoos really matter?
No.
Do you think that's because of where we are now in society, or do you think that they wouldn't matter even 10 years ago? when they weren't really accepted, or 20 years,
I
or
don't
30
think it
years
would have
ago?
mattered. I really don't, because what it comes down to at that point is you're trying to survive.
Okay, so take someone who's considered like a biker, like biker, tattoos all over the place, big.
We're talking like 1%ers, like gangs.
Volker. Well, I'm not necessarily like gangs, but talking about like the biker, the stereotypical biker, really big, wears black, always decked out in leather. Every inch of their body is tattooed, except for maybe their face. Their face is probably clean. They normally have a beard.
Okay.
Like, this is the biker, okay? In a post-apocalyptic, I can't say that word. Post-apocalyptic world. In a world where zombies take over. Not really. Zombies aren't going to happen unless they're doing bath salts.
Even then, it's one case. That's all I'm saying.
One case is all it takes for there to be an outbreak. Do you not know how zombies happen? Oh my gosh. But this is a topic for another podcast. We're not talking about zombies. I need to stop bringing them up. I could have a very passionate conversation about zombies. Okay, but in a post-apocalyptic world, where an EMP strike happens or whatever, we're without electricity and we're like a mother and her child are like hiding somewhere, and then a biker walks in. Do you think that mother and child are going to trust that biker, or are they going to believe that he is a gangbanger who's going to kill them because he can eat their flesh?
Okay, as callous as this sounds, and not flesh eating, as callous as this sounds, no. And the simple reason for that is I don't think anybody's really going to trust much of anybody. If you don't know them, then it's going to be hard to trust them.
That's true. I think that's the case even now.
Right. And I'm a firm believer that if somebody walked in and it's a life or death situation that I'm in, I'm not going to trust them until they give me a reason to trust them.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of how I am, as you know. I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to. But in that kind of a situation, I think it's a necessary evil. To be distrusting. Right. Give me a reason why I should trust you. Because I'm putting my life in your hands. And that's my feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly on that one. Okay, so now that we're done kind of talking about scenarios in which we're going to die and someone's going to eat our flesh, let's talk about actual tattoos. What is your personal opinion of tattoos?
I think tattoos send a message. I think, you know, in the 1800s, it was literature. In the early 1900s, I think it was literature. And you can go all the way back and you can trace how people recorded how they felt. Vincent Van Gogh painted beautiful pictures based on how he felt. In my opinion, it's the modern day way to express yourself. I don't go take everything I want to take with me to the grave, right? So when I die, my body has now become a canvas to depict how I felt, how I lived, what I thought. To express myself even after death, I guess would be actually a really good way to put that.
I like that. I like that. My opinion of tattoos has changed over the years. It's evolved. I still believe to a certain extent what I did growing up, which was that tattoos are something that are looked down upon by the majority of people. I don't necessarily think they're a bad thing, but I definitely don't think that they're something that should be taken lightly. They're not necessarily something that I think should be like a spur of the moment decision.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, you hit on something that I thought was very important. You said it's a way to depict how you feel, and your feelings change very quickly. And so I think that if you're going to get a tattoo, you really need to think about it. You need to think about a bunch of different things. One, you need to really think about, okay, am I going to feel this way forever?
Right.
Or is this really going to...
Don't get names tattooed unless it's like your kids or something.
Right, exactly.
Because divorce is a very real possibility.
It's such a tragic world we live in that we even have to think that way.
I know.
I think what's really important, you can get something that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's still going to mean something to you, whether it's a memory or a feeling or whatever.
Right.
And you really need to think about, especially if you're planning on getting just a few, or if you're planning on, told you would need a drink. If you're planning, if you're planning on being a professional figure in any way, if you want to run for politics at some point, I mean, you have to think about those things. You have to really think about what you want to do with your life and what getting a tattoo could potentially do to that.
Right.
And
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Do you believe that is the right way to feel about tattoos?
You do make valid points. Absolutely. Think about your tattoos. Don't let it be something that you thought about for a week and you're like, oh yeah, I'm convinced that that's the tattoo I want after a week. Mm-hmm. My first tattoo I thought about for years. The other ones that I've got plans for, I've thought about for years. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. As you know, tattoos aren't cheap either.
No.
To me, that's money well spent. It's going to last a lot longer than a car is, and I'm going to spend a lot more money on a car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I also don't 100% agree with you, because to me, I believe that tattoos are becoming more acceptable even in corporate jobs. Mm-hmm. I can understand politics, because where a majority of the voting population is still the baby boomers. This is generalized. This isn't like picking on a specific group, but I believe that they are.
I think also, before you say anything, something important to remember in all of these conversations that we have in all of my Lives Library podcasts, these are the opinions of two people. We are having a conversation about things that we have witnessed in the world, in our lives, things that we've experienced. We are both young. We're still learning, but we do have experience under our belts too, and we do feel like we can discuss these topics. That's why we do it. But it is just the opinion of two people, and those opinions can change. They have changed. They'll continue to evolve as the world goes on and as time goes on. So just remember, exactly. And the more experience we have. So just remember, don't hate on someone for something that they say, because they're saying something that they feel and they think at that moment from the experience and the thoughts that they have currently.
So that being said, a majority of the voting population right now is baby boomers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them don't have tattoos. Or
if they do, they're military.
Right.
And it's very specific.
Right.
Obviously generalization.
Right. And then, where they're the majority of the voting population, I can understand in politics being like, yeah, I don't want visible tattoos, mm-hmm. because that could hurt my ratings. Is that what it's called? Ratings? Mm-hmm. Rankings? Ratings. It is ratings. And so I'm a firm believer in that there's appropriate times for it, and there's ones that aren't. But I do believe that corporate America is becoming a lot more socially accepted to it. Most of the workforce that they're going to have in the next 10 years is going to have tattoos. Mm-hmm. I read a stat somewhere that something like 40% of all millennials have tattoos. It leaves another 60%, which, yes, that's a majority. But mm-hmm. you can't make your workforce out of just 60%.
Right, exactly. No, so I want to kind of take that in a personal direction. I have a visible tattoo on my hand that I've covered through wearing a brace, through wearing a Band-Aid. I've had makeup on it before. due to the fact that I've worked in positions that they didn't particularly want me to show that I had a tattoo. Even though it's small, even though it's something that didn't necessarily, it's not something that you easily notice. It's something that people who have known me for a long time had no idea that I had. But it's something that a lot of people, if they did notice it, they didn't think about it. They, and I've also drawn there with pen multiple times. So I mean, like, people thought it was a drawing for a long time. It's
like your one I saw today, I thought. Is that like one of the stamp tattoos?
And I do flash tattoos a lot too. So a lot of people see my visible ones and they think, oh, like that's just a sticker or something, like, because that's something I do. And that's what my boss thought when he originally saw the one on my hand. And he went and he even like touched it. He's just like, that's cute. And then he's just like, but remember, like, we can't have those like at work, so just don't put it on until after work or something. And I was just like, first of all, if it was a flash tattoo, those last for days too. Like, I wore flash tattoos on my face for my entire week in Disneyland.
Nice.
And they did not come off. And I was washing my face at the end of every day, putting makeup on every day. And they didn't come off. I was wearing like flash tattoo freckles. They were super cute. But they didn't come off. They don't come off super easy. They're not something that just like disappears. And so, I mean, I thought that was kind of naive of him to say, like, you put that on after work. But then also just to assume that it was, and then it wasn't until he saw it later and he's like, so that is a flash tattoo, right? And I was like, no. And then he's just like, wait, hold up. First of all, he didn't think that I was a person that would have a tattoo. And I think people are very surprised by that, typically. But then also, he looked at it and he just like, how have I not noticed that before? I'm just like, because it's not a big deal. You noticed it because I was actually using my left hand to do something. Like, that was like on top. I normally use my right hand on top because I'm right-handed. My primary hand. So I have things covered this way and it just doesn't draw attention. And so it was really only the fact that I had flipped it over. And I'm surprised he didn't notice my other one because
short sleeve shirt on that day?
Yes, I get hot at work. But I mean, immediately he yes. Yeah, I'm really warm too right now. Holy cow. But he immediately, I think his opinion of me changed. The way he treated me changed just the tiniest little bit. And he wasn't trying to be judgmental and he wasn't trying to be close-minded, but I think that it still did affect him. And then he brought it up all the time. He's like, hey, you need to cover that. Hey, you need to wear a Band-Aid over that. Hey, you need to, like, it can't be shown. Which I get. It's the policy of the company. But at the same time, I'm a leasing consultant at an apartment complex. People walk in all day long who have lots of tattoos. And it is a huge selling point when they see something that immediately connects us. They say, oh my gosh, this person is not better than me. This person is just in a job that provides something I need. The same as someone who works at a Walmart or a way more expensive store. I mean, like, it doesn't matter where you work, if it's low end or high end. I believe that it's a connector for people. Absolutely. It shouldn't be something that distances people.
I agree. I think that's where it comes into play the most is it draws a connection. People are going to ask about your tattoos. You ever run into a guy with a full sleeve?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You ever look at it?
Yes.
All the time, right?
They're so cool.
And I feel like the stigma is going to end. But sometimes we're afraid to approach people. Even with those of us that have tattoos, we're still hesitant to go, hey, what's your tattoo of? If we've never met the person.
Yeah.
With me and Liv, we're sitting here talking about our tattoos. That's whatever. We know each other that well.
Yeah.
But if it was someone just on the street that you're like, it's a cool tattoo, you're less likely to approach. But I think that stigma is going to change because, again, we're in that generation and that transition where they're becoming more acceptable. And it's just going to be one of those things that I think they're going to be able to be approached. And we're not going to be so, because I think we're still reserved with tattoos. But I think it's becoming more acceptable. And I'd give it another 5 years even. Just 5. And I think it'll be a normal thing.
Yeah, I think something I've noticed, which I think is very kind of ironic, and you bring up a good point. When you go to a tattoo parlor, those people that are giving tattoos typically have full sleeves. They typically have some other places as well. Sometimes they have them on their neck, but I don't see that too often. Neck and face, I find much less frequently, and I think that those still in my mind, and maybe this is a persona thing, but I still feel like if you do it on your neck and your face, that's a symbol of a little bit being more hardcore.
It is.
Because it's being like, what? No matter what, I will never be able to cover this. And I think that that's something, it sends a little bit more of like a strong,
intense message.
Intense message. That's a good word. Not necessarily like hard or mean, but intense. I think that's a very good word. I think that's a really good word. But I love when you go into, what I was saying was, when you go into a tattoo parlor and you're talking to someone and they're giving you your tattoo or whatever else, you frequently, I mean, you're either doing one of two things. You are sitting there silent, which is just, first of all, that makes the pain worse. And second of all, it's just uncomfortable, especially when you're there for a long time. Tattoos take a long time. And you're there for a long time and you're not talking to this person. Me personally, I want to know the person that's doing it. Like, I'm just like, I'm going to find one person that I trust, and that person is going to do any other tattoo that I get, you know, like, I want to have a relationship with that person.
Which is why people stick with the same artists.
Yeah.
I had 2 artists do my work. And, you know, I'm law enforcement. We covered that. My tattoo artist knew about it, especially given the tattoo that I got. So he was sitting there talking with me, and come to find out, he had served time in prison for committing crimes. But it's weird how something where we're opposite ends of the spectrum, how one thing can bring 2 people together. And I think that's a big thing that tattoos are going to be able to do nowadays.
Yeah.
That's excluding gang tattoos, just because
I think that those still bring people together, though. I mean, I don't necessarily, I'm not saying that I agree with them, but I still feel like those tattoos bring people together. I mean, if it's a gang tattoo, it means the whole gang has this thing that connects them, that identifies them.
Right, that's true.
And so I think, taking aside like the politics of like being in a gang and whatever else, and what it necessarily means, I think tattoos in general bring people together.
Oh, that makes,
I mean, like the ones that I have that people have seen, there are people that immediately recognize and draw to that. The one on my hand, it's a treble clef. And I am a musician. I play a couple different instruments. I sing. And I do music. I perform frequently. It's something that I love to do. Thank you.
Very well.
It's something that I very much am passionate about, something I enjoy doing. And so immediately, if someone does notice that, they don't even have to bring up the tattoo, but they can say, oh, so you like music. I full on was in a political meeting with somebody. I'm very involved in politics in my area, very much, very passionate about being in public service in the ways in which I am capable of doing. And I think that that is a very important way to be involved. I don't care what party you're in or what your belief systems are. Like, I'm not going to sit here and hate you if you are, you know, a Republican and I'm a Democrat, or if you are a constitutional Tea Party person and I don't care about anything. Like, but I think that being involved and being passionate about that is something that's very cool. And in the middle of this political meeting, someone looked over and they're like, so you like music, huh? And I was just like, looking all around. Is there like a picture? Is one of my CDs out? Like, what?
Right.
And then I realized, oh, he's on my hand. That's what it was. And we started having this conversation about music during one of the breaks in our meeting. And he's just like, that's so cool. Like, I love listening to people sing, but I can't personally sing. My daughter can sing. Can I send her to you to like learn something? I was like, absolutely. I would love to give your daughter voice lessons. I mean, it was immediately something that not only like brought us together and made us friends, because I would never have talked to this guy otherwise. He's clearly a father, someone who was very, very serious about what was going on. And
Right.
if we were not in that particular situation, I probably would have never approached this person or ever said anything.
Mhm.
But because we already had something connecting us,
Right.
he then pointed out something else and we became friends. And so I thought that was a really cool, they really do bring you together, even if both people don't have that.
See eye to eye.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree. And it's a good conversation starter.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know. You've seen my tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know what the thin blue line is anymore. And so they see the blue within the black and all of that, and it gets them talking.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, "So, what's it represent?"
Mm-hmm.
And you start to explain, and you kind of
And
it's a good conversation starter, even if it's someone that you may not become friends with.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation's always great.
Oh gosh, I'm one of those people when I'm in the grocery store and I'm like talking to people. I talk to people in line.
You talk to people every day.
I really do. I don't like not being able to converse with people. I really like, and I'm a shy person. That's the thing. Oh my gosh, I'm so shy. It's terrifying to me to like say the first word to somebody. Once we start conversation, I'm not shy anymore. But like that first initial interaction, especially if it's someone that I'm like maybe crushing on a little bit, or someone that I'm maybe starstruck with a little bit. Those are the times when it's like terrifying for me. But at the same time, I'm like, they're a normal person. They're like, we're all normal people. We all have this fear of like talking. Let's get over that and let's become friends. And
but you have to convince yourself.
Oh, every time I'm doing
Don't
this like
worry,
pep talk.
I do the same thing.
But I mean, I think that the tattoos really do bring me closer together with other people.
It does.
It's frequently something that I mention in mine. Like, so how are you doing? I noticed that you have this thing on your arm. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Where did you go? I mean, oh my gosh.
That's a good conversation.
That was okay. So
by the way, I need a good tattoo artist here.
I can recommend a couple.
I
can recommend a couple. There was this girl. I donate plasma. I've talked about that a couple times in podcasts. I donate plasma at this one place, and I become friends with like everybody there because I do talk to people. Right. And when you're going twice a week, you become friends with the people. You get to know them. And I've been going there for like 3 years. So I've been going to the same place for 3 years, twice a week, at almost every single week. When I don't show up, I have them texting me, "Hey, where are you? You're supposed to be here today." There have been times where one of them would post. I mean, I've become friends with them. I'm on Facebook with them. Right. And they like one girl posted on Facebook one day, and she's just like, "I'm having a really bad day. I need a hug." I was like, "I'll come by. Like, when I get off work tonight, I have something that I'm going to do, and I will come in afterwards and I'll give you a hug." And so they were getting ready to close. I wasn't going in to donate, but I just walked in and gave her a hug. And she's like, "You're the most cool. Like, thanks so much for coming over here." I was like, "I love you. Like, we're friends. This is cool." Right. But this one girl that was there, she's getting a sleeve done. And it is the coolest sleeve ever. It's a Disney themed sleeve. And she has like the castle. She has the Rose from Beauty and the Beast. She has Flounder and Sebastian from The Little Mermaid. I think she's even got Ariel on there. She's got plans to put Genie and the lamp on there. I mean, it's like legit. Oh, wow. The whole arm is going to be Disney. And right now it's a 3/4 sleeve.
That's a Disney fan there.
Oh my gosh, though. I was like, man, if I was ever to do a sleeve, I would do that because that's the coolest thing ever. I love Disney. And I mean, just immediately, I mean, I couldn't help but be like, I love it so much. And then immediately, like, we were just conversing about our love for Disney. I eventually ended up asking her who her artist was. Yeah. She said she told this guy, his name is Josh Avery, and he works at Infinity Tattoos in Clearfield, Utah. And he is phenomenal. She said she went in and she talked to him, and she said, "I want to do a Disney tattoo. Here's some ideas." And he's like, "What if we do this? And what if we do this?" And he's the one that kind of came up with the placement and the idea. She's like, "I want all these things on it. Now you go for it." And she kind of gave him free reign to just do it. And it's so pretty. And I just love it so much. She's going to have Simba on there. I mean, she's got
a lot.
I want a picture when it's finally done. And I've like texted her. I'm like, "Hey, when it's done, if I'm not around, you have to send me a picture because I want to see it.
Right.
And I mean, that was something that immediately, like, yeah, we knew each other before, but I feel like we became friends after that because it immediately connected us.
Right. It gave you guys something.
Yeah.
In common.
Yeah. And it wasn't the tattoo. It was our love of Disney. And
right.
I thought that was really, I was like, wow, like these really do. So here's a question for you then. I want to talk a little bit about still like how they're perceived by certain people and maybe how we can change that stigma. I personally, like I said, I'm involved in politics. I would eventually like to be more involved, potentially run for a political office
you get my vote.
At some point. I think that, thank you. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think it'd be a lot of hard work, and I think it would be terrifying. And I think that it would be a great learning experience.
Right.
And I would love to do something like that. But where I do have some visible tattoos, and where, you know, if there were something that came up, I know that people would ask about it, and that would open up a lot of doors, especially because some of them are very near and dear and speak to a hard time in my life, things that I was going through,
right.
Things that I was struggling with, and I don't necessarily want that to be the case. Do you think that there is a way to eventually make it so that people won't necessarily need to know the deep, dark secrets behind them in order to be able to elect someone for a public office, or for someone to be able to be the CEO of a company? Do you think that do you think that in our future, someone can go in with tattoos and not be questioned for the reasons why, what they mean, what happened to get you to that point,
right.
in order to be able to do those things?
I think eventually, yes. The only thing is I'm not sure when that would be. You were talking about how to change the stigma.
Yeah.
And that as a social acceptability, I don't know, whatever that word would be.
Make them socially acceptable.
Yeah. I think that's going to come down to those of us that have tattoos that are visible, that we kind of defeat that stigma that we have, that we are the bad children. We're negative people. We're not going to respect you. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with how people with tattoos are perceived.
I think that's why so many people are surprised that I have it.
Well, and I think that's what it's got to be, is the way you treat people. You go about treating people with respect. You go about not questioning everything that they're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if we can bring that level of respect and show it from those of us that do have tattoos, that's going to be the best way to defeat that stigma. Unfortunately, it's going to take more than two of us.
Yeah.
You know, so anybody watching, if you've got tattoos, help us break that stigma.
Yeah.
Because
comment below and tell us what we can do, and tell us what you're doing to make this something that is more accepted and something that's not viewed as a negative thing.
Absolutely. I'm actually curious to hear those now.
I am too. This will be I think there will be some good conversation that goes down below.
Absolutely. But I guess what I'm saying is, if you've got a tattoo, don't be afraid to show it anymore. I think it's acceptable.
I've stopped covering mine up because I'm tired of being afraid of what people think, or being tired. Yeah. I'm tired of being afraid of what I'm going to be perceived as.
Right. And you know, I cover mine at work, just because of where I work.
Right.
The nice is mine can be covered by a sleeve. I mean, it's that simple. And that's my goal, is to make them so that they can be covered. But if I choose to show them, I can show them. I lost my train of thought there. I had a message that I was going for and lost it.
So in breaking the stigma and in being acceptable and in being proud of the art that you have decided to carry with you throughout your entire life, what are some things that you and I can do, and maybe some other people can do, anyone who has a tattoo can do, to maybe help this not be a negative thing anymore?
Like I said, the biggest thing's treat people with respect. I'm a Southern boy. I'm used to, when you go to a door and somebody's 5, 10, 15 feet behind you, you hold the door. There's just the basic gentlemanly and humane things to do. And regardless if you know the person, you don't know the person, you don't like the person, show that respect, because it's going to be reciprocated a lot better. And those of us with tattoos, I believe, are going to be perceived better. But like I said, not as the deviant children.
Yeah, I agree. I will eventually have another podcast on the topic of chivalry. I'm hoping to get someone that I know in my life, an old friend, on the podcast to be able to have that discussion with me. And I think we'll be able to talk a little bit more about how to behave in general, how to have a better lifestyle, and to reach out and to prove that chivalry is not dead. Chivalry is very much alive and well, and how we can continue to rescue it from going extinct, because I think there are some people who are trying to make it go extinct. And I think that in the end, it's very much about being chivalrous. It's very much about being the person that you are, regardless. I mean, I don't let my tattoos define me. I define myself, and my tattoos are a part of me. They are a decision I made to represent thoughts and feelings that I have in my life. And I don't let that be something that holds me back. And I if anything, it's something that will propel me forward. And I think that that's so important.
Right. And it tells a story. And whether that's a story that's just for you and in your heart, or if it's a story you're sharing. And I think that's why I'm pro-tattoo, definitely. And I think it's becoming more acceptable because people are seeing it.
Yeah. I think that we've had a good conversation, and I think it's time to end. One thing that I do want to kind of close on is just the thought that tattoos are a great way to express yourself. We've talked about that a lot. We've talked about how the stigma is changing and how there are ways in which we can. I want to continue this conversation below, so please make sure that you are commenting and letting me know if there were things that I missed, letting me know if they're letting us know. If there's anything that we could maybe talk about in the second podcast. If you want to have another podcast on this topic, let us know. But this is not just saying everyone should get tattoos. No. I think that you need to think long and hard before you get one. I will tell you, they are kind of addicting. Once you get one, you start to consider the fact, oh my goodness, I can have another one. I'll tell you, my first one was one that I thought about for a while. I thought about it for 8 years. And I mean, I knew what I wanted it to be. I'd had a discussion about someone, and the original discussion I had led me to think about it. Within a couple of months, I had designed it, and then 8 years later, I finally decided to get it. And I did not regret it. It wasn't a decision that I made lightly, and so it wasn't something that I was afraid to do. I'll tell you, it was easier to get the others after that, because it was like, well, I put one on. and it meant a lot to me. And so now it's easier for me to do others. So if you are thinking about getting a tattoo, it's not something that I will necessarily say don't do, but I would definitely say think about it long and hard. Don't get a cat tattoo that then tomorrow you're going to be like, ah! Don't do that. Do something that's going to mean something long term. Someone on a YouTube video, her name is Hannah Hart. If you don't know her,
look
her
up. Hannah Hart.
I love her. She was giving she was doing a video talking about her new tattoo, and she said that some advice she got, and I think it's very wise advice. The advice she got was wait 5 years between tattoos.
No, and I actually agree.
I think that's a great piece of advice. She said she waited 4.5.
your tattoo, your first one, like she said, you're addicted after that.
Mm-hmm.
Your second one, don't think about it any less than you thought about your first one.
Right.
Because it's just as permanent.
You don't necessarily need to give it 8 years. I mean, I'll tell you, my first one I thought about for 8 years. My second one I thought about for about a month. But I still gave it time to settle in. I still gave it time to I was like, all right, I know that's what I want. I thought about where I wanted it and what I wanted it to be. And, you know, I wouldn't say get a tattoo every month, but I would say wait, give it some thought process. I think waiting 5 years between is great because it allows for it to not be an addiction. It allows for it to be something that you're doing because it means something, not just because.
New chapter of the story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool. It defines different parts of your life too.
Absolutely.
Do you have any final words to say to everybody out there listening?
Liv pretty well summed it up how I would have. Again, my biggest thing is if we can all treat people with respect, which, you know, you were saying you had a chivalry podcast that you're thinking about doing, or you will be doing. If
I can get my friend to come and do it with me.
I think that's going to help break that stigma. And my prediction is in the next 10 years, it's not going to be as frowned upon as it is now. And look how far we've come in 10 years since.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being on my podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having this discussion with me. It was something we were talking about in the car. I mentioned that I wanted to have him on as a podcast. We were talking about some suggestions and some options that we could talk about. He mentioned, let's talk about tattoos. Like, I mean, let's just have a go at that. And I thought that it was a great discussion topic, and I'm very glad that we followed through and we did it.
Absolutely.
So there's one final question that I ask at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
This is to make it just a little bit lighter. It's something that I love to do. And I get to answer this question too. It's the one question on the podcast that both of us answer.
I should have brought questions.
So this question is, what has been your weekly obsession? So in the last week, what have you been most obsessed with?
Guns.
Guns.
It's actually been what my next firearm's going to be.
Yeah. Have you decided yet?
Still torn.
Okay.
Still torn. Looking at a subcompact or compact cell.
Ooh.
So that it's easier to conceal carry than the one I've got.
Yeah. Okay. My weekly obsession this week has been curling my hair. I recently dyed my hair about a month and a half ago now, and I love the color. It's faded a little bit, and I'm planning on doing something different with it.
Back blonde.
Not an old lady anymore. This guy made fun of me, called me an old lady because I walked into his house and was like, "Look at my hair!" And he said, "Oh, old lady." Like the first comment I got.
And yet somehow you still love me for
it. But I think I've been curling my hair a lot. The color's faded a little bit. The roots are starting to grow in, and I've been wanting to play with it. And my hair is holding the curl much better than it has been. And so I've been excited to like try different things. I'm learning how to use a wand, you guys. So it's really cool. It's magic in my hair. I love it. So that's in my weekly obsession.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, well, you guys, thanks so much for joining us. If you liked this episode of the podcast, go down below and click the like button. Give me a thumbs up because it really means a lot to me. It lets me know that you enjoyed it, and it also helps me know that we need to talk about it again. Also, comment below answering what you think we should do in regards to breaking the stigma of tattoos, and also tell me what you want to hear next week. I will switch topics, and I do take suggestions from those who give it to me. So thanks so much for suggestions.
And also, subscribe.
Thank you very much. Yes, subscribe. Now remember, you guys, smile, know that I love you, and stay beautiful.